Hi, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Mike Meisels, and I'm going to be your host today for today's conversation. As I see, there's a few people just joining. We're just going to leave it a minute or so for others just to quickly join the session. Bit of housekeeping rules. On the screen today, you have a QR code. Please feel free to scan that with your mobile phone, and you're actually going to be using MessageBird. So we're going to be drinking our own champagne today. So feel free to ask questions through the WhatsApp channel, and we'll get to those questions as they come through. Today's speakers, just as an introduction, my name is Mike Meisels. I'm one of the sales directors down here in Australia. It's a pleasure to have you with us. I'm also joined by George.
Good day, everyone.
And George is our solutions director. So we're going to be taking you through a very quick and a very comprehensive 30 minutes on how to unify your conversations with Salesforce today. And today is the first part of a webinar series which we're running to take you through various angles around how to help unify your communication, drive automation and efficiencies in your business, reach the customers on the right channel at the right time, and also how to help you build a truly conversational commerce experience with us. If you think about the challenges that we have today as businesses and as architects, we are in a world where we're moving in away from speaking to human beings on an SMS or an email or a voice call. We're moving into the world where people want to communicate with organizations on a communication channel that they're currently sitting in today. Whether that's a Facebook Messenger, whether they're scrolling through, speaking to their friends, speaking to their colleagues, speaking to the network, and come across your advert and wanting to engage, or receiving a notification through WhatsApp and being able to click and activate that offer that they've got. At the same time, imagine being in that world where you're looking for a service or looking for a business, and you want to engage with that customer, that organization at that point in time without having to click into that link and direct where you want to go to today. And also when a business wants to reach out to you using Instagram or consumer wants to connect to you, all of these things and these new worlds become quite hard and quite time consuming for us as developers and architects in order to think about how those businesses want to engage with them today. And just like how we used to do that when we had multiple systems of record and multiple business teams all wanting to use the same data, we used to put into integration tools in the middle, such as a MuleSoft or a Jitterbit, to being able to get rid of that spaghetti junction that we find ourselves building today. But in the world of communication, when each of these business teams wants to reach out to a customer, to a partner, to a courier, to a delivery driver, or whatever that external organization may be or external role may be, connecting on the channel of their choice is labor intensive and very hard to do. It's hard to regulate and it's hard to govern. And at MessageBird, creating a single communication platform helps organizations not have to worry about how they communicate within their systems of record or their systems of engagement to the end consumer. We provide you that single platform, just like you would do with a data integration platform, a single platform that you would have to bind into to then communicate with the right customer from where you want to. And in order to make that scalable and to make that future-proof, what we've done is we've built an omni-channel communication platform for you to do that. And we're taking into account there are channels that you still want to communicate with your customers on, such as SMS and voice and email. All of those are fully supported on our platform. Our super network makes it super easy for you to come into our platform and buy a number in over 100 countries, and through one single API, make the phone ring or send an SMS from telling the person about the latest offer or notification. But as those channels expand and as our consumers become more urgent for us to communicate with them on their channel of choice, rather than having to download an app every single time to communicate, we're at that point in time where it's becoming quite hard and quite tiresome in order to keep managing the different systems and the different channels that we want to build up to. And so at MessageBird, we've built this communication platform with channels in mind that allows you to not have to worry about what that future channel may look like, whether it be WhatsApp, Messenger, Instagram, WeChat, or Telegram. We provide you the channels and that future scale in order to take into account in the heavy lifting for you not have to worry about how you would actually communicate with your customers on those channels. And in order to make that future-proof, we've created this thing called the Conversations API. It's a single API that wraps around all of our messaging capability to be channel agnostic for you, so that you can have one single API that you can connect to from all of your core systems, and that you can choose the channel that you want to communicate for that. And we will do the heavy lifting and push that message to the right person at the right time on the right channel. And when they want to respond back, when they want to communicate back, how as a business do you actually listen to those conversations and react to them? Well, in order to drive efficiency, we've built a product called Flow Builder. It's a drag and drop orchestration tool, which you'll see in a bit, and allows you to, with no lines of code, assemble a flow that can actually listen into the channel of your choice and react to the customer when they're coming in through the front door, no matter what the choice is. And when that comes into it, it can be, for example, looking at things like the language of their choice. For example, understanding what their favorite language is or their mother tongue. So in order to offer world-class service, you need to be able to offer the right choice and the right channel from that point of view, and be able to communicate with that conversation. In order for that, you need to be able to understand contextual information around what their intent is, what the questions they're asking, and to see, instead of going back into that paradigm of waiting online for some human being to answer those questions, let's see if we can answer those questions really cleverly using natural language and our frequently asked database, or even dipping into systems of record to ask those questions like, where's my last order, or when's my food going to be turning up, or hey, I would like to, you just sent me these sneakers and it's the wrong pair of trainers, what we're needing. And though when we want to hand off to a human being in context to what we're doing, being able to pass that back to things like Salesforce to have that single pane of glass experience, so the agent has all the information at the right time and the right channel. Now, if you think about where we're starting off our journey today as marketing teams and businesses, our first part is trying to acquire the customers and reach out to those customers. The first part we want to do is we want to be able to reach out to those customers and entice them into our business, either directing them with a marketing journey or an offer. But each of those channels is hard to react to. And so, for example, let's say a push notification doesn't get opened or doesn't get clicked on. Being able to have that waterfall approach where it allows you to step down through the various different channels, become more interactive with those people and those consumers in order to make sure that your message gets through to the right person at the right time. And once they've read that message and once they've interacted with that message, what happens when they want to speak back to you and communicate back to you? Rather than having that siloed, broken approach where they have to come in on a different channel without context and without information, we provide that single pane of glass experience that allows you to bring those flows together. So when a customer comes back in on their chosen channel, being able to direct that through to an orchestration tool like Flow Builder to answer the questions of what you're doing, be able to understand the prioritization, be able to understand where you should be routing that to, using natural language, as we talked about earlier, to direct and resolve the query if you can, but also sending that through to the right person at the right time on the right channel. And this is where both the platforms working together work really well, both from Salesforce's marketing journey, where you can have all your different marketing events being kicked off, but also being able to bring that back full circle. And when those customers come back in to ask the questions around that offer, that campaign, that email, to ask more questions or communicate with someone to ask those questions, being able to hand that back to a human being in full context without having to re-architect any of my heavy lifting across channels. Now, in order to make this real and to show you these examples, what I'm going to do is hand over to George now, who's going to take us through a live demo of how all of this works.
Hey guys, so look, I really appreciate everyone's attendance today, and hope everyone's keeping safe. I was just replying back to the chat and leaving the actual deep links for anyone that missed the QR code back then. So look, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump straight into it, start sharing my screen. Now, everything which Mike spoke about is absolutely reflective of our product. And the most important thing is that we understand the heavy lifting part is something we really want to take care of, right? So how we do that is through our low-code, no-code platform, which encapsulates all of the different APIs and the third-party platforms that you want to speak to. Right? In this case, we're focusing on Salesforce, and what you see here is a typical journey in Marketing Cloud, right? And how we make this much more interactive and much easier is we've actually installed the channels directly into the activities for your journey builder. So you can, as a business, select where you would like the outbound journeys to go, right? So for example, you've got the choice of Viber, WhatsApp, and SMS for now, right? But as a development team, we are continually adding new channels to this, and we always take feedback from the market to see, what's working well and where our customers would like to have these new features. Right? So in this typical journey, everything starts off on where you would like to have these messages sent. Right. So what you simply do is set up your data extensions or your contact lists, and then you can trigger the marketing messages over WhatsApp. Right. And the unique thing about this is everything that's working is part of our Conversations API. So no longer are you having to integrate into different API systems. All of the channels that we have on offer is through that one API, right? And the flexibility is once the message goes out, you're basically listening to all the delivery statuses. And then depending on the delivery statuses, then you're sending out further communications. And so you can definitely make this an omni-channel approach. So for example, if you start off on WhatsApp or Viber, depending on the statuses, you can end up on SMS or another channel, right? And so this is very important for a marketing team to be flexible, to be hands-on in terms of where they see the actual communications happening, right? And where their customers would like to communicate with the business on. So this is more for outbound, but what happens, for example, if you're sending a promotional message to customers and they would like to actually come back and ask you a question, what do you do then, right? So we've got that covered. And the way we do this is what Mike spoke about before when it comes to Flow Builder. So I'm going to show you guys what Flow Builder is all about. Now, Flow Builder is a tool. It's a low-code, no-code tool which glues everything together. So what that means is we have our communication stack. So whether that's over top channels, SMS, email, video, and all of that. So everything comes in together, right? And you can glue all this into this low-code platform where you orchestrate the journey, right? And we say omni-channel, and we really do mean it. So in this journey itself, you have a choice of customizing the conversation on any channel which is relevant and activated for your business. So if you're sending out promotional messages on WhatsApp, then you can retrieve on WhatsApp and then offer the same experience as if you were doing the same thing on the different channels, right? So you simply select the channel that you would like to orchestrate the automated conversation on, and then you simply create this journey through the platform itself. Very, very simple logic, right? You can do it from a traditional perspective where you offer your customers a set menu system, or you can use our NLP stack where you can go in, recognize the intent of what your customers are looking for, and then offer them a much more personalized experience that way, right? And there's no need to go to another third party to do any of this. All of this is encapsulated within the platform itself. So you build your data sets, simple CSV, import that, and then publish the flow and start testing, right? Very, very easy. And so in this case, how does this all communicate back to Salesforce, right? So as a demo, we've set up some logic where when the incoming message is received on any of these channels, we'll pick up whether or not it's related to Salesforce. And so when we see that it is related to Salesforce, then we go and query Salesforce to make sure that there's no existing conversation. And if there's no existing conversation, then we create one, right? And what that means is we create a conversation within, for example, Service Cloud, where the agents can now come back and through the automation, if the user does want to speak to live agent, then you can interact with them directly via Service Cloud. So in this case, on the right-hand side, you see we've got the conversation window, right? Now there are two channels currently happening in the conversation. So you can see there's an SMS channel and then there's a WhatsApp conversation going on at the same time, right? And also, as an agent, you have the flexibility of choosing how you would like to respond back to the user, right? So you can respond back to them via SMS or WhatsApp or any of those the other channels that the customer has contacted you on. And the other great thing is, as an agent, you do have the flexibility of the omni-channel offering. So there is the widget, which is readily available. I mean, all of this is tied in again to the conversations, right? As you can see from the history perspective, all of the previous conversations sit here. You can readily access them and customize the reporting to your liking. We also have voice, which is integrated into Salesforce, right? So make a call through the soft dialer, and follow up and do whatever you need, right? Yeah. So that's a little bit of in a nutshell, how these integrations can work together to make the journey a very holistic one without having to integrate different systems and having 10 developers on your team to be able to achieve this. Yeah. All right, Michael, hand it over to you.
Yeah. That's great, George. I'm seeing a lot of questions coming in on the chat, so I think we should cover off some of those questions as we go through. I was just responding to it in the chat, but I think let's pick it off as we go through it.
For sure.
Just to cover off what George has just showed us, the idea that as a messaging platform that came out from Marketing Cloud, and one of the questions that came into the chat, and let me just put my screen back on. Sorry, just to cover off what we were showing today is the idea that using a marketing automation tool like Marketing Cloud, it doesn't have to be Marketing Cloud, it could be any marketing automation tool. But what we're showing is that if an organization does use a marketing automation tool to trigger marketing messages across, when customers come back in on their choice of channel, we can answer the questions that they have using Flow Builder, understand the intent, understand what type of things they're wanting to request, and if we can, use natural language such as our chatbot to try and answer that question using maybe systems of record out there with the data in, such as an ERP or an e-commerce engine or an ordering engine, or even dip into a stock level to see if we've got products for that. But in the event that we can't answer that using an AI engine, we hand it off to a human being. And now one of the wonderful things about what we showed is that Flow Builder, being that orchestration tool, has the ability to direct that customer or that user to the right channel. And that could be the right channel inside of Salesforce, or it could be the right channel inside of other systems of record we have. And think back to that paradigm of why we use a data integration tool, to be able to direct data to the right system of record. This is the main reason why you would use the MessageBird platform and Flow Builder to direct the conversation to the right person in whatever system they currently answer today. So if you've got different teams in different systems, being able to direct that to the person at the right time on the right channel is what MessageBird can do for you. Now, one of the questions that came up in the chat, and just in the chat window before we go to the QR one, is this agent interface available on a mobile app? Now, the agent interface for Salesforce is built into the Salesforce Service Cloud side. However, we do have a mobile app that does allow you to take mobile phone calls and SMS conversations with you. So, for example, if you are outside or traveling, we do have the ability to direct, using Flow Builder, that conversation into a mobile app experience. So we can direct a phone call to the right team or to the right person, and same for an SMS conversation as well. It's not mandatory to have Marketing Cloud to use MessageBird platform. Our platform is channel and system agnostic. Whilst we have an App Exchange package that fits it nicely into Salesforce and can be downloaded, as you can see from the screen, we are channel agnostic with that. Yeah, so the platform, basically, you're free to make any type of HTTP call, authenticate it however you like, token, API key, OAuth,
And that'll allow you the full flexibility of being able to query an endpoint, wherever that is, HubSpot, Salesforce, and then obtain the variable that you're looking for in the response itself, right? So all the variables which come through can be automatically passed to your liking, right? So whether you're looking for a status of a ticket, or if you're looking for a unique ID of a contact, then you can always have this readily done here. So when the variable is received, it'll be cached in the conversation, right? These calls take a couple of hundreds of milliseconds. When it comes in, it's cached for the rest of the conversation. So that means you can then provide that personalized, further automated process for the customer. Or if you're transferring to a live agent for any reason, you can take those keys, add a note, and so that the agent has a much more better overview of what's needed. Yeah.
George, whilst you're where you are, one of the questions that's in the chat is, in WhatsApp, can we receive non-chat conversations, so non-text-based conversations? Can we receive things like images and other?
So rich media, yes, definitely. Yeah. Like, for example, if someone sends you a video, a file, or an image, you can definitely receive that, as well as if someone actually wants to speak to you, right, just via audio file. So when like WhatsApp has the function of just holding it down, recording an audio, and then having that sent across. We also receive that as well. So you can do such things as transcribing that if you wanted to, right? And that's like a simple integration which you can work on. Yeah.
Awesome. One of the other questions in the chat at the moment, and it's probably a good one to talk about, our webhook capability and flows, is someone uses Magento to manage their web store. So Magento being another e-commerce platform. Is it possible to get consumer order history and behavior from it and drive an automation or a journey from there?
Yeah, definitely. Like you can be doing this in a number of ways, right? You can query, or you can push the data from the actual CRM across. Like for Flow Builder, you're flexible in terms of how you want to be able to retrieve that data. Like if you do want it to trigger a request to Magento CRM or any other platform, then you can do that. Get the necessary information back, create the journey, and then have that follow up.
So I'm just going to put the QR code back on the screen, just in case that people missed it at the start. Feel free to carry on asking questions in the chat, or send us a QR code, scan the QR code and send us a ticket, and this will come back up in our inbox. Conscious of time, we'll carry on anyway, but conscious of time, I just wanted to cover a couple of quick points as well before we come back to the questions. So what we've done is we've shown you a quick example. What we wanted to do was to try and keep this short and sharp, be very respectful of everyone's time and the number of webinars that people are joining and Zoom calls. But we want to give you the opportunity to try this out for yourselves. So if you go onto the dashboard.messagebird.com and sign up, or you can go to our website and sign up, you can play with this yourself without having to write any code or try this out. And what we can also do is, if we're actually going to do another webinar in 2 weeks' time, and we're going to drive deeper into using things like Flow Builder to unlock customer engagement and automation. And that fits into the second part of our webinar series that we're going through. So it'll be another webinar series in 2 weeks' time in a similar time frame, and we'll walk through this as well. Just to come back to a few questions, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Flow Builder is definitely a very mature product. I mean, we're always adding new features and functions to it. So, definitely feel free to give it a go. I mean, the unique proposition of Flow Builder is it encapsulates all of the communications channel which is offered by us, and it also allows the ability to integrate within any conversation machine learning, NLP components into it very, very easily, right? We make that a very hands-on approach. It's not a steep learning curve at all. You basically, any leader which understands the customers can go in and then build that journey themselves. Whether it's a very simple chatbot experience, or if you wanted to integrate that into different systems and allow that NLP and smart data to take over the conversation, you can also do that. Yeah, but we'll cover this and a whole lot more in the next webinar.
So a couple of questions are around languages. We support currently 49 different languages, and Barsa is one that we support both from a language recognition and a translation point of view. So what you'll see in Flow Builder is there's a couple of widgets that can recognize languages and can respond in different languages, and that's both supported in our toolset. Just trying to see if there's any other questions. Gary, I'm not sure about, Gary, you might want to clarify your question, but yes, MessageBird is already in production. What you see is actually being used live by a number of large customers, both from a Salesforce point of view and from a system of record point of view. Going to the other channel, from the channels the questions that's been submitted through QR code. Do we recognize Hebrew and translate it? Hebrew is a supported language, both from a language recognition to understand that the customer or the user is responding in Hebrew, and being able to translate as well. So that's one of the 49 languages that we support. This is probably, let me direct this one to you, George.
Yeah.
Can you use the live chat Omni-Channel tool alongside Salesforce, or is it only for inbox?
So that's pretty open, and I mean, what you can do is you can definitely have the best of both worlds. Like, you can have the Omni-Channel tool direct that conversation into Salesforce, right? So what that means is, like, even if you're offering that Omni-Channel tool in a website or whatever it is, and then you have WhatsApp, you can be using Flow Builder to forward that conversation in after you allow the automation to happen in the conversation.
Yeah, awesome. Another question that we've got is around the Open CTI, and that's probably a good thing to cover off as well. So when we integrate into Salesforce, we use both the Open CTI adapter and framework, as well as the Omni-Channel framework. So if you've built all of your workflow rules and your agent rules in Salesforce already, we fit nicely into that. So our CTI adapter, which is Toki, drops nicely into Salesforce, but it can also work on your mobile phone or on your desktop. So we have a Mac client, a Windows client, a Linux client, an Android client, and also an iOS client as well. So not only can you have your calls directed into Salesforce if you're an agent, but you can also take your calls with you wherever you go, either on your laptop or on your mobile phone when you download it, and it works the same. The same for the Omni-Channel. So, for example, these conversations that you saw coming in fit nicely into the Salesforce Omni-Channel framework, and we pass in the information for it to route to the right person at the right time. But happy to discuss that further. Just looking at questions. There's a question here about, can MessageBird work with Natterbox as the phone platform? Should I take that one, or?
So
yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of overlap in terms of what we have for Turkey and Natterbox, but it really depends on what you would like to get out of the platform. Yeah, happy to take this further.
Yeah, so being a communication platform, we have two parts that you can transfer phone calls. So you can use Flow Builder to have the call coming in, and you can transfer that across a SIP client or a PSTN network. So you can pass the phone to the Natterbox CTI. So you can use us as that Flow Builder IVR part at the front. So one central place where the numbers come in, and then you can direct it to there. But there are, as George said, there are some complementary components and some overlapping components as well. Look, I'm just conscious of time. Look, I really appreciate everyone spending some time with us today. We're coming up to the half-hour mark, and we wanted to be very respectful of people's times. So look, we thank you very much for joining us. Feel free, if you've got any questions, happy to take those questions, reach out to us, and we'll send the slides and the recording and some contact details after the session today. We really hope you found this is useful and hope you can continue the conversation with us. We would love it if you join us for the second webinar. The link will be in the follow-on email with the slides, but we'll dive deeper into these conversations and look at more about what we can do together. Give you a couple, George.
Yeah, it's going to be very interactive, the second session. So I hope everyone's trigger ready on their WhatsApp.
Thank you very much for everyone's time, and we hope you stay safe and have a good day. Whatever you've got rest for the plans, and have a great weekend. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.